Hello, Namaskar. I'm Deepak from London Ideas, and welcome to this very interesting session on design thinking. It's a very popular word these days. We keep hearing about this, uh, be, be it school, be it colleges, be it startups, be it corporate organizations. I think everybody has been talking about this word in the recent past. So let's get into a story, and then I would be happy to take you through a ride on this entire process over next 30 minutes. So let's get started with the story. So I'm Deepak. I will be your facilitator for this very interesting story session, I would call it. So there is a lemon school. It's like a typical school where students from classes 1 to 12 study, they go to school, they play, they have their short breaks, long breaks, they study various subjects. It's a it's a typical school which is slightly futuristic and human centric, where they keep talking to students, they keep talking to parents on a regular basis. And in one of the activities in the school, I think the school takes some regular feedback from children in terms of how is the school going on, how are their studies, how they are finding various activities in the school. So they do take some extra steps to seek the feedback from children as well as parents in terms of the various activities going on in the school. And during one of such feedbacks, one feedback came to the school management was this, where students were missing in between classes for a considerable time. So there was a pattern which was there, and teachers noticed this pattern, and students also somewhere realized that in between the classes they were losing some time. So for example, so if there was a maths class going on for standard six, so children realized that they were losing some time while they were in the math class. So a good feedback which came. So there was some issue, some problem to be addressed, and a bunch of smart, creative students like you thought of solving this problem. So they thought, come on, it's my school, it's my problem. Can I solve this problem? So it was very interesting way. They were very active like you all are. So I'm very happy that there are students like you who want to solve problems. So they picked up this problem and they thought, come on, let's solve this problem, where how and why students are losing their time, and can we find out a solution. So students started working on it. So they they decided to go deep dive into the problem. They started talking to other students, they started talking to teachers. They were looking at specific information that, okay, is this pattern for a specific floor, or this is pattern for a specific class or specific day, specific week. So they were trying to identify more details about this problem, that why students were losing their time and what were the reasons for it. So after this extensive exercise, they probably came up with a specific problem. So they were able to find out the problem as students were taking more time than expected when they had to go to drink water. So a typical school, I'm sure your schools would also have, your colleges would also have this kind of shared facilities where we go out and take water. And it's a basic human need. We all need to drink a couple of liters of water on a minimum basis per day. So the, they did a fantastic job. They realized the problem was drinking water. After they knew that the problem is about drinking water, they thought of, come on, let's try to find out possible solutions. So they were looking at why children were taking considerable time in terms of drinking water, and because of this, probably they were losing time. So it's all probability right now. It's not guaranteed. It's just about one of the solutions, one of the problems that they are trying to identify. So they identify some possibilities. For example, location of water filter could be a possibility, number of taps in terms of how many children can drink water at a time, or the water flow in the tap. So that might be taking more time than expected, and children might be losing time. So there could be any of these possibilities. So they started working on these possibilities, and then they decided that, okay, let us identify one possibility in terms of solution. So they thought of, if location of water tap is a problem where children are losing a considerable amount of time, so they thought, what can be done when children are losing time because of the water cooler? So they discussed among themselves, they thought of possibilities, and then they decided, okay, things we are not sure at this point of time, let us think of a solution which could be easy to implement. So after much discussion, this bunch of smart students decided to have some water bottle. So they went to their principal, and they requested their principal that, okay, we are trying to address this problem which has come through a feedback in our school. We are very concerned about this, and we want your help and support. And they requested the principal to procure 10-15 water bottles for them. So they decided to have these water bottles placed at two different locations on the specific floor where standard 6, 7 students were losing a lot of time. So they used to fill up, they thought of this as probably a way to address this specific issue. So after that, they were doing this kind of a solution where daily morning, afternoon, so they were doing 3 times a day. Students used to divide their duties among themselves. They used to fill these bottles, place it at a specific locations. Again, after 2-3 hours, they used to come, wash the bottles, and refill it again, place it at those two specific points. So this they continued for a month. So I think the idea was to see if this was the right problem and if this was the right solution. So they continued doing this daily, morning, afternoon. So they used to come in the morning. The first thing in the morning, the students used to get these bottles, fill water from the water filter, place it on those two specific locations. They were able to get to stools. So on small tables, they place this bunch of 5-7 bottles at each specific location. So after again 2-3 periods, they used to come back and do this exercise again. So this is what they did for about a month. And I'm very happy to share that after a month of their hard work, their active participation, they again took the feedback. And I'm very excited to share that the feedback was very positive, and students realized that they were not losing that amount of time now. So it all started with a problem where students were losing time in between their classes. And now the feedback was, yes, they were not losing their time now. And this was a positive feedback which came. So again, a quick recap, what all actually happened in this Lemon School. So there was a problem which came to the school management that okay, students were losing their time in between their classes. The reasons were not known. This is what the feedback which came to them. A bunch of smart students like you picked up to solve this problem. So they started working on the problem. They went deep dive into the problem. They understood the problem. They realized that there were a specific floor for standard 6 and 7, and the drinking water was a specific issue. And then they found out the exact problem was the location of the water cooler. Then they went up to the possible solutions. So they went to the possible solutions. They started working on few possibilities. They picked up few bottles. They took special permission. I'm glad the principal of the Lemon School was very supportive of such kind of approaches where students are taking responsibilities, because there's so much of learning, there's so much of real problem solving, real learning involved, which goes miles and miles ahead than what typically we would learn from our textbooks. So the principal was very supportive. I'm very happy. And then they started working on a solution for a month where they used to pick up these bottles, fill them with water, place it on those specific points, and that is how they were trying to look at the solution. And fortunately, after a month, feedback was very good. The principal, the teachers were convinced that this seems to be the right problem, and now they were looking at a foolproof solution. So placing water bottles was not the foolproof solution. It was a way to try that will this kind of a solution work. So of course, yes, you would have definitely thought of foolproof solution by now. The foolproof solution was to actually place more water coolers on that premises so that problem could be solved. But unless the school was sure, unless that was specific assurance that this is the problem and this is the right solution, probably placing water coolers may not have been the right idea. Now that they have tried and they realize that, okay, placing a water cooler at different locations could solve this problem where students would not waste their considerable time when they have to go and drink water. So they were traveling long on their floor. Probably their cooler was placed in one of the corner locations. The classes were very far away from that. And this was what was all realized. The problem might look to be very simple. The solution also looks very simple. But what is important here is the approach which this bunch of fantastic students picked up. And I think this is very common. I'm sure if you would have taken up this problem, I'm sure you would also have solved it in a similar way. So there is no specific rocket science here. It's a very simple, common problem to be solved in a very, very common way. No specific skills required to really solve such problems. You don't have to be expert or an engineer or a scientist or a business expert or any kind of a design expert here. So anyone could pick up this kind of problems and we can solve it using a simple approach, which is, I think, very common. And I see a lot of common sense here. So I don't see a extreme high logic here. I see a very, very common sense here. So what was all this? So the point here is, let's keep this story in our mind and then we'll move ahead and then see how this story is relevant in today's conversation that I'm having with you. So keep this story at the back of the mind and we move ahead. So now let me introduce to you design thinking approach. So design thinking is one of the ways to solve problems in an innovative way. The important thing is you need to have one specific problem that you're trying to solve. Design thinking is always human-centered. So people would always be at a central place. What people want, what people are. So that will be at a central place. Uh, it is non-iterative. So it's not like, it is iterative where it will go on in cycle. So, so let me go back to our story again for a while and then relate. If this water bottle solution would not have worked, suppose the feedback would have come and the students and the teachers would have provided a feedback that's not working out. Still, children are losing considerable amount of time. Then students would have picked up a different solution. So probably the location of the water filter was not the right solution. They would have picked up some other solution, maybe in terms of the flow of the water might be very less, or maybe the number of taps, or maybe something else. So this is absolutely an iterative method where the solutioning will come in multiple iterations. You'll try once, may not happen. You'll try again, it might happen. So it's human-centered. So it is keeping focus on people at a central place. It is a way to solve a problem. So you need to have a problem to apply design thinking. If there's no problem, you cannot apply design thinking. It's a way to find innovative solution. Yes, it is a non-linear way where things will not move in a linear fashion, but yes, it can have a non-linear run when you are finding solutions using design thinking. So it is one of the very good way for everyone like you and me to use it as part of our day-to-day life. So let's look at the design thinking as it is called. So it talks about 5 steps. So the design thinking process has 5 steps. So we'll start one by one. The first is empathize. So empathy is for people. So whomsoever's problem is this. So whomsoever problem is this. So if somebody is trying to solve a problem for maybe people who carry heavy school bags, or if somebody's trying to solve a problem around pollution, or if somebody's trying to solve a problem for maybe civic sense, so any kind of problem. So empathy is for people who are going through this problem. Second is, once we empathize, once we understand what is the core issue, what is the whole reason, then we try to define our problem. So this defining a problem puts us into a box where it becomes very clear, it is very concise, and we are able to objectively look at the problem. After the problem is defined, we have to look at possible ways to solve this problem. So there can be multiple ways in which the same problem can be solved, but we have to keep ideating. So this is how you ideate. Okay, fine. If the problem is about children reaching school late, or if the problem is about children not attentive in their classes, so it can be any problem. So the thought here is to ideate, and ideation is a great way where group task, brainstorming, all this can help you ideate more and more ideas. And then you move to the step number 4, which is prototype. Simple thing, test. Prototype is a word attached to something which you want to try. But for example, a lot of things you do inside your science labs in your school or colleges. So this is prototyping, where we are still not doing it in the real life. This is not the final solution, but we test it using smaller modules. So this is prototyping, where we look at a solution and we see if this can be a smaller version of of a full scale solution, and will it work? It's about proof of concept. It's about test run, pilot run, whatever name you want to give. And then you test that prototype. So whatever is your likely solution, you create a minimum functional version of that solution. It has to be a minimum functional version. And then you test it over a period of time to see if it's working. It's working, fine. You get feedback, you improvise it. If it's not working, go back to the first step, empathize. Or you might want to go back to the ideation stage where you want to pick up a different solution and try it out. So, the loop can go back, and this is what is a process of design thinking where you can go back, again move forward, again go back, again move forward, till the point you have reached your solution. Doesn't it look simple to you all? Yeah, it looks very simple. Something which probably you and me would do it real life. Now let's go back to our story of limit school. Now, I would want you to all to move back to the story which we started with, where there was a school for standard 1 to 12. Many students used to study in that school, and there were typical classroom. It was a multi-story building, many classes, many teachers. Students used to come daily morning, used to play, they used to study extracurricular, sport, everything was. So it was a good school who was looking at a holistic development of students, including the mental health, the physical health. They were very proactive in terms of feedback from students, parents. They used to be concerned about the well-being, about the learning quotient of their students. So this school had a specific feedback, and then we saw the entire cycle how bunch of very creative, good, smart students picked up the problem based on a feedback that children were losing a considerable amount of time. I'm sure you must have been able to link this story with what you see on your screen right now, isn't it? Yes, you are absolutely right. So the approach we used in solving this problem without knowing design thinking was very natural, and it was design thinking approach. So I would want to congratulate all of you that yes, you were able to relate to the story in terms of the process, and you all can solve it in a way in which we had here without knowing design thinking. So now it's good to know that this is design thinking. So it becomes very simple to us now. So somebody asks you design thinking, I'm sure now you can go back to this story and relate to this story, and you know what design thinking is all about. Was it complicated? No, not at all. Does it require you to have specific skills, qualifications, or you need to be perfectly in terms of academically? No, I think anyone can view, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your academic performance, irrespective of your background, gender, anyone can use design thinking, and it's very simple as we saw it just now here. So very quickly now we'll move to the steps again and see the way we solve the problem, how it is exactly design thinking. So let us look at the problem where empathize, yes. The first thing student did was to get into more details. They were talking to students, they were talking to teachers, they were empathizing with people who are concerned with the problem. So this is about building empathy, where can you feel the same way as those students and teachers are feeling, where you are losing time in your classes, be it teacher, be it student. So empathy is to be able to go to their shoes and feel and start feeling like them. So they'll open up, they'll share what exactly is happening, why it is happening. That's how you build more understanding about the problem. Then they define the problem, that okay, the problem was time taken to drinking water, for drinking water. So students were losing a lot of time. going back and forth in terms of drinking water. So problem was identified, it was defined. So from empathy, we move to define. And now we move to ideate. So ideate is about identifying multiple possibilities as solution. So, and in this case, you all identified multiple possibilities. So it could be water filter location, number of taps, speed of flow, and there could be something more. These are just three, but it could be 4 or 5 things more which we don't know. It will only come up when we start building empathy with our end user. So this is how we ideated. And then once we have ideated, I think once we ideated, we were able to build a prototype. So after ideating, we picked up one step of building a prototype, which was having some bottles to be kept at some places and see if this smaller version, it was a prototype. Again, I'm saying it's not a full solution of having a new water filters nor or new water cooler. A smaller prototype where they had to procure 15-20 bottles, which their principal was kind enough to support this bunch of children, and they they designed a small test solution, and they were running this test for a month. So it is about testing your solution for a month, where they used to place bottles daily after 3 hours, and then they they went back to children, teachers, got the feedback, and yes, their solution was bang on. So they were able to find the right solution in the first iterative, which may not be the case always. So if this would not have worked, probably the students would have gone back to the ideation slide, ideation stage. They would have picked up the second solution and tried out the second one or the third one or the fourth one. So this is about design thinking. Empathize, define the problem. So empathy is to build with your end user, define the problem, ideate on possible solutions, build up a prototype, and test your prototype. So 5 simple steps of design thinking. And you would now remember it, right? Do you all agree with me on this or not? Yes, you all agree with me that this is pretty simple. Again, I'll repeat. Build empathy with the end user. So feel like what they are feeling, who is going through the problem. So we have to understand the problem. From an outsider's perspective, it's very hard to understand. So we have to go into their shoes and understand the problem. So build empathy with the end user, define the problem so that it becomes objective enough for us to work upon it, ideate on possible solutions. There can be multiple options for it. Pick up one prototype version of it. Whatever solutions you have, pick up one solution which you think is the best. Build a prototype and test this prototype over a period of time. If you have the solution, fantastic. If you don't, improvise or go back and try to pick up the second solution, the second prototype, or go back to your, maybe you have defined your problem wrong, or maybe you haven't done good work in terms of building the right empathy. So you can go back to any stage till you find the right kind of a innovative and creative solution for a problem. And this is innovative because this is people-centric, is iterative. You are focusing on the end user, you are focusing on people, you are using a lot of pedagogies like brainstorming, conversations, collaborations to build a right prototype and the right solution. And you are de-risking yourself because you are piloting it first before the final solution. Just imagine if principal would have procured 2 new water coolers and placed it and then realized that, oh, this is not the right solution. There was some other problem that we missed out to solve. So here, using design thinking, yes, we are de-risking ourselves. So we are minimizing the risk of directly finding a commercial or a big solution. So pretty simple. Yes, you and me, we all can use design thinking, though this was a very small example for the sake of explanation, for the sake of conversation, because I wanted you all to absolutely understand that this is something anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Believe me, you, me, anyone, anyone. Maybe you are 6-year-old, maybe you are 16-year-old, maybe you are 30-year-old, maybe you are 50-year-old, or maybe you are 65, 70-year-old. It does not matter. Design thinking is a very, very simple way. It's basically the way you think. So the name thinking. So the moment you adapt to this way of thinking, it will have positive results everywhere. So maybe attempting an exam, solving a specific problem, working in your career, in your relationships, in your day-to-day life, whatever daily stuff you do in your home, it can help you everywhere. So this is our way of idea to reality at Lemon Ideas. We call it the 6E model. Believe me, we realize this model is very similar to the design thinking after we build this model. So explore various possibilities, problems, empathize with the problem, try and test a solution, execute it. If you find it going good, you get a good enjoyment as an entrepreneur, and then the solutions keeps evolving through innovation. So this is a typical idea to reality model, which is typically used for entrepreneurs or anyone who want to work on an idea and start their venture, but it's something which was very close to design thinking. So yes, we can use design thinking in multiple ways. It's a way you think, it's a way you approach whatever comes in front of you. The moment we adapt our approach, the moment we adapt our thought process using this process, which is very common, which is very, very natural, there is no absolutely no specific studies required here. So anyone can apply this common way of thinking. We can use it in our day-to-day life, in our businesses. Startups can use it. They are using it widely in terms of finding the right solutions and building fantastic startups out of it. Can be used by corporates to solve specific problems which their customer might be facing, or to improvise, or to get innovations into their product line or services or the process level. Can be used in education on a day-to-day basis. So yes, it has multiple applications. So it was wonderful talking to you all. Thank you so much. And I would want to remind you to follow Lemon Ideas. We have many such videos on YouTube. So on the YouTube, you can simply type Lemon Ideas, go to our YouTube page, click on the bell button, follow us on YouTube. You will have exciting, many such videos to get into an immersive learning experience with us. You can also follow us on other social media handles like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are there everywhere. And I would want to again thank you for being part of this session with me. Namaskar, and I'm sure you will find design thinking is a very, very interesting, simple, natural way to adopt and start using in your life. So all the best to you. आप सबकी जय हो, आप सबका मंगल हो, आप सबका शुभ हो. So namaskar, jai ho. Thank you so much.